विमलमति दे. Thank you.
Now to spread the light of knowledge, we would request Dr. Ajay Shukla sir, MS of Dr. RML Hospital, to address the audience with his enlightening words. Please sir, join us upon the podium to address with your enlightening words to the audience. Let's give it up for our Director sir and Medical Superintendent sir, Dr. Ajay Shukla sir. Thank you everyone.
A very good morning to the chairman of the Cultural Committee, Additional MS Dr. Neera Sharma, and the other members of the Cultural Committee, senior colleagues, our undergraduate students, and other staff from the hospital, ladies and gentlemen. So, every time, I come to an audience where there are a lot of UG students, and then when I hear these few words like lines from Saraswati Vandana, which was performed mainly by our UG students, I feel so happy to see the talent that all of you have. And it's not just studies, you also have other great talent. Well, coming to today's program, as you all are aware that our space scientists, ISRO, is taking huge leaps as far as crossing space frontiers is concerned. And our Prime Minister Modi ji himself is taking a very keen interest to develop the space program. Everyone is aware of the recent achievements that we did at a very low cost and which was applauded by the entire world. So as medical students, as medical professionals, there's a question in our mind that how is space technology helping us? So what is in it as far as health and medicine is concerned? So I would want to share with you the fact that the environment of space provides a very extreme environmental condition. There's microgravity. The gravity which exists on Earth does not exist in outer space, right? And all of this extreme environmental conditions creates a lot of pressure on the human body. So whether it's your bones which start getting weak at a very fast rate, whether it's your immune system which starts getting weak at a very fast rate, all of these things create challenges for astronauts who go into outer space. And to meet the challenges for these astronauts, we need to develop new technologies and new interventions to prevent this. And then those technologies and preventions become useful for people on Earth also. So that is how it is helping. So space research has brought various discoveries and benefits in health for all humans. And it ranges from early detection of disease to statistical analysis. So one of the thing that physical things that happen is sensing. Like you have a satellite, you have an aircraft, you've got a sensor there, and then it detects electromagnetic radiation from Earth. So that gives a lot of data on a lot of things like the surface temperature, the rainfall, right, the ocean temperature, many things. So all of this helps in a big way. For example, malaria, what is it associated with? Whether it's associated with more rainfall, denser vegetation, all of this. So you can help, it helps scientists, medical professionals to know that when malaria can happen, where it can happen, and what to do, right, to prevent it from happening. Similarly, other diseases like dengue, okay, cholera, brucellosis, all of these, they're all associated with different parameters, environmental parameters, and we can track down those parameters. COVID-19 was a big example because with COVID-19, the success of lockdown, the success of quarantine measures that were implemented by different countries could be mapped by remote sensing. So it helped in its spread, in reducing its spread, right? So similarly, you can identify different pollutants in the air, whether it's carbon monoxide, okay, whether it's asbestos, whether it's wildfire smoke. So all of these things, they have an effect on human beings, right? They can cause respiratory disease, coronary artery disease, premature births, low birth weight babies. All of those can cause malignancies. So all of these things, how to reduce the pollutants. So it all helps, right? Then there's a system known as a global navigation satellite system where you have multiple satellites all linked together, providing data all together. So they can help track physical activity. And by this system, we were able to understand that the happiest people lived in natural environments, right? Closer to nature. People living in urban areas were not so happy, right? So it also helps in preventing accidents, in traffic jams, right? Okay? So the intensity of physical exercise, in which areas is more, all of this can be tracked. Satellite communication is very important. Medicine, all of you are aware, there are lots of remote and difficult to reach areas on this planet, and to provide people living there with health information and health remedies is a huge challenge, and telemedicine helps us in doing it, right? Also, telemedicine helps in limiting medical evacuations. You know how much medical people will need to be evacuated for medical problems, right? So for time-sensitive interventions, many interventions, even a split second or a few minutes or probably an hour, if it gets delayed, it changes the outcome. So telemedicine becomes very useful. In COVID-19, it was very useful, right? Not just for telling people who are all closeted in their homes, right, what to do, but also people who couldn't come to the hospitals and had a problem at home, we could tell them what they needed. So, as I said, the microgravity affects the human body. It increases the insulin resistance. Astronauts, they're more prone to develop atherosclerosis and cardiac problems, muscle atrophy is very accelerated. You have to do a lot of physical exercise to prevent this rapid muscle atrophy and rapid bone loss that occurs. But despite that occurs, and therefore we need to develop countermeasures. Some skills. So for all of these things, we need to discover new drugs, new interventions, and all of those discoveries, those interventions become useful for patients of osteoporosis, patients of low muscle mass, patients with a poor immune system, patients with autoimmune disorders. So all of them get benefited. A big advantage of outer space is what is known as tissue chips, which substitute human subjects. You see, the cells of the body, when you place them together on the earth, they behave differently. And when you place them together in outer space, they behave differently. And they behave as if they're an organ inside the human body. You see, when you place these cells in the lab outside the human body on earth, they behave totally differently. It's unlike how they are inside the body. But when you place them in space, then they behave exactly as they were inside the human body. And therefore, a lot of clinical trials that need to be done on animal subjects or on human subjects, that can be avoided. You can do it on those tissue chips, right? Engineered heart diseases and engineered heart tissues. And then you see what happens to this tissue in outer space, and then you make the intervention and you see how it works. And then you test drugs. You can test drugs on these tissues, right? Similarly, all of you are aware of T cells, right? Which are developed from stem cells in the bone marrow, and which is very important. They protect the human, right, from help us in fighting cancer. So all of these T cells, they're not activated sufficiently in outer. So we need to develop drugs which enhances this immune system, and then those drugs become useful for people living on the earth too. It helps the astronauts, people going into outer space, but it also helps for, right? Similarly, there was a development of the liquid cooling technology where you have fine tubules, vests with fine tubules through which a coolant flows, and that reduces the body temperature, reduces the humidity. So all of those vests, again, they're becoming very useful for people. There's something which is known as the Vasper technology, and this combines both cooling and vascular compression techniques, and it helps in performing anaerobic exercises. So it's especially useful for elderly people, people with sedentary lifestyles, right? People who are injured, who cannot perform the physical exercise as a normal person can, right? So it is so good that a small duration of this exercise, while, what happens, the person is sitting and he just has to wear this technology, and it gives him the benefit as if he's done a very intense session of exercise, right? Intense, long duration exercise. It gives the same benefit. Similarly, in outer space, all of you know, if a patient has cardiac arrest, right? It's so important to do cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So classically, it is done. You place the heel of your palm, right, on the lower third of the sternum, and you need to compress the chest by at least 2.5 inches, right? To help the person who's dying, right? In outer space, it is difficult. You can't do it. The moment you apply the pressure, the person, he is pushed away from you. So you need to develop a technology to how you do a CPR in outer space, right? So what they did was they developed restraints, right? So you keep a person there, right? And he's not able to move, right? The another thing they did is they developed vests which could provide the same amount of compression without actually you needing to do it. So all you need is to put a vest onto the person, and then just hit a switch, and then compression, right? Similarly, there was a development of the rehabilitation chair, right? As I said, people in outer space lose their muscle mass and bone mass at rates which are 10 times higher than people who have osteoporosis, not normal people. People with osteoporosis. You imagine people in outer space losing their bone mass at a rate 10 times higher. So the rehabilitation chair basically there's a system which provides vibrations to the entire body, and through those vibrations, it appears as if you have done a tremendous amount of exercise. It stimulates the muscles, stimulates the bone, and increases the strength. So even in postpartum hemorrhage, there are patients who bleed after pregnancy, and that is a leading cause of death worldwide. And no intervention in many cases stops that bleeding. So they have developed devices which in astronauts which prevents bleeding of blood in the lower limbs. And those devices have been used in postpartum hemorrhage. And that is prevented bleeding. It stops the bleeding in maximum 2 hours. And that is able to save a lot of lives. So, I mean, there's so many things, so much happening. Our desire to cross the front, and which is putting so much pressure on the human body, and to help those astronauts in developing these technologies which are ultimately helping everyone on Earth. So space research is not just important for space scientists, not just because we've done something very big and it is being applauded worldwide. Professionals is also helping us treat diseases.
थैंक यू सर फॉर थॉट प्रोवोकिंग वर्ड्स। कहा गया है कि बालक नागरिकता का प्रथम पाठ माँ के चुंबन और पिता के दुलार से सीखता है। यूं तो देने वाले वाले के कई कई रूप रंग हैं। हरे लहराते खेतों में, चिड़िया के किलौल में, ऊंचे पर्वतों में, विशाल सागर में, घने वनों में, तीज त्योहारों में, विभिन्न बोलियों और भाषाओं में, जहाँ एक और भारत माता का प्यार झलकता है, वहीं हमारी अभेद्य सेना में, हमारी साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी में, हमारे कल कारखानों में हमें अपने देश के पुरुषार्थ के दर्शन होते हैं।
हमारे देश के प्रति हमारे प्यार की अभिव्यक्तियों का स्वरूप भले ही अलग अलग हो, किंतु भावना निश्चित रूप से एक ही है, जो भरा नहीं है भावों से, बहती जिसमें रसधार नहीं, वह हृदय नहीं पत्थर है, जिसमें स्वदेश का प्यार नहीं, जिसमें स्वदेश का प्यार नहीं। ये समूह गान हमारे देश के पुरुषार्थ और विविधताओं का वैसे ही वर्णन करता है। तो आइए सुनते हैं।
मंजिल एक है, आहा,
एक है,
ओहो,
एक है, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं। कश्मीर की धरती रानी है, सरताज हिमालय है,
सदियों से हमने इसको अपने खून से पाला है।
कश्मीर की धरती
रानी है, सरताज हिमालय है, सदियों से हमने इसको अपने खून से पाला है। देश की रक्षा की खातिर हम शमशीर उठा लेंगे, हम शमशीर उठा लेंगे। बिखरे बिखरे तारे हैं हम, लेकिन झिलमिल एक है, आहा,
एक है,
ओहो,
एक है, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं।
हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं। मंदिर गुरुद्वारे भी है यहाँ और मस्जिद भी है यहाँ। गिरजा का है घड़ियाल कहीं, मुल्ला की कहीं अजान। मंदिर गुरुद्वारे भी है यहाँ और मस्जिद भी है यहाँ।
गिरजा का है घड़ियाल,
मुल्ला की कहीं है अज़ान। एक ही अपना राम है, ये अल्लाह ताला है, एक ही अल्लाह ताला है।
रंग बिरंगे दीपक है हम, लेकिन जगमग
एक है, आहा,
एक है,
ओहो,
एक है, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं। What a mesmerizing song it was. Now, let's highlight the important dates in Chandrayaan. The spacecraft was launched from Satish Dhawan Center in Andhra Pradesh, Sriharikota on July 14, 2023. The spacecraft entered lunar orbit on 5 August and the Vikram lander touched down the lunar South Pole region on 23rd August, making India the fourth country to successfully land on the moon and the first to do so near the lunar South Pole, breaking all the barriers and creating history. So, let's revisit the beautiful moment of launching of Chandrayaan 3.
Mission of ISRO to the English with my co-commentator Shri Center at Satish Dhawan Space Center, Shar, Sriharikota, the spaceport of India. Launch of LVM-3M4 Chandrayaan 3 is scheduled to take place today, the 14th of July 2023 at 14:35 hours Indian Standard Time from the second launch pad. The mission intends to place Chandrayaan 3 weighing 3,900 kilograms into an ellipse having a perigee of 170 kilometers, an apogee of 36,500 kilometers and an inclination of 21.3 degrees. Eventually, the destination of Chandrayaan 3 is the moon, located 3,84,000 kilometers away, which will be achieved through a series of orbit raising and course correction maneuvers over the next few weeks.
नमस्कार। भारतीय अंतरिक्ष अभियान और इसरो के गौरवपूर्ण इतिहास में एक और अध्याय जुड़ने जा रहा है। जिसके साक्षी हम सब होंगे। आज 14 जुलाई 2023 को इसरो के सतीश धवन अंतरिक्ष केंद्र के श्रीहरिकोटा के द्वितीय प्रमोचन मंच से भारतीय मानक समय के अनुसार दोपहर 2:35 पर LVM-3M4 चंद्रयान 3 मिशन का प्रमोचन किया जाएगा। यह पूरे भारतवर्ष के लिए एक उत्साह और गौरवपूर्ण भरा समय है।
To the launch event of India's prestigious LVM-3M4 Chandrayaan 3, the mission of ISRO to the moon. I am Madhuri giving the commentary in English. With me is my co-commentator Shri Vikas Swarnkar giving the commentary in Hindi. We are joining you from the Mission Control Center at Satish Dhawan Space Center, Shar, Sriharikota, the spaceport of India. The launch of LVM-3M4 Chandrayaan 3 is scheduled the 14th of July 2023 at 14:35 hours Indian Standard Time from the second launch pad. The mission intends to place Chandrayaan 3 weighing 3,900 kilograms into an elliptical parking orbit having a perigee of 170 km, 6,500 kilometers and an inclination of 21.3 degrees. Eventually, the destination of Chandrayaan 3 is the moon, located 3,84,000 kilometers away, which will be achieved through a series of orbit raising and course correction maneuvers over the next few weeks.
नमस्कार। भारतीय अंतरिक्ष अभियान और इसरो के गौरवपूर्ण इतिहास में एक और अध्याय जुड़ने जा रहा है, जिसके साक्षी हम सब होंगे। आज 14 जुलाई 2023 को इसरो के सतीश धवन अंतरिक्ष केंद्र के श्रीहरिकोटा के द्वितीय प्रमोचन मंच से भारतीय मानक समय के 2:35 पर LVM-3M4 चंद्रयान 3 मिशन का प्रमोचन किया जाएगा। यह पूरे भारतवर्ष के लिए एक उत्साह और गौरवपूर्ण भरा समय है।
Stage ready.
Minus 45 seconds. Minus 40 seconds.
L110 VHPP open. MOV
Minus
79
35
open.
seconds. Minus 30 seconds.
Real-time programs activated.
Minus 25 seconds.
L110 VSPP open.
Minus 20 seconds. Minus 15. 10.
कहते थे लोग जो काबिल नहीं है तू, देंगे वही सलामियाँ। दिल था जहाँ देखेगा एक दिन तेरी भी कामयाबियाँ, करके दिखा कमाल वो, आके ज़मीं पे दे के जाए आसमां। शाबाशियाँ 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 शाबाशियाँ।
कुछ करिए नस नस मेरी खोले, हाय कुछ करिए
इस फेज के दौरान लगभग 150 मीटर के ऊंचाई पे पहुंचने के बाद लैंडर अगेन लगभग 20 से 22 सेकंड के लिए हॉवरिंग करेगा।
We are above the landing site. The horizontal as well as the vertical velocity is now being constantly reduced, and the lander module has begun its descent towards the landing site.
जी हाँ, आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं ये जो पथ निर्धारित किया गया है, लैंडर पूरी तरह से उसी को ही फॉलो कर रहा है। इस समय हम लगभग 200 मीटर की हाइट से भी कम आ चुके हैं। अब हम ये देख सकते हैं कि हम लगभग 150 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे हैं चंद्रमा के सतह से।
We are approaching the vertical descent phase 2, which will have the lander module hovering at nearly 150 meters above the lunar surface.
जी हाँ, आप इस तालियों के गड़गड़ाहट को सुन सकते हैं, जो कि सेकेंड हैवरिक फेज के कंप्लीट होने के बाद इन सारे वैज्ञानिकों के द्वारा की जा रही है। जी हाँ, आप अगर एल्टीट्यूड पुनः कम होता जा रहा है, अभी हम लोग लगभग 135 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे हैं।
The sensors that are updating at this point are providing confirmation of the safety of the landing site.
As expected, the retargeting is going on, and this is a very good signature for the lander. अभी आप ये देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई लगभग 65 मीटर के आसपास बची हुई है।
Currently, only 2 engines are now being fired, and we are nearly at zero velocity, vertical and horizontal. We were hovering, and now we are approaching the moon's surface.
धीरे धीरे लैंडर की वेगमान को कम किया जा रहा है और हम अब लगभग 50 मीटर से भी कम आ चुके हैं।
We can see the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who is here to encourage us, and he is critically looking at the visuals.
जी हाँ, आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल
People are applauding. Let us all wait to hear from the Secretary Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, Shri S. Somnath.
लैंडर मॉड्यूल पूरी तरह से सेफली और सॉफ्टली चंद्रमा के सतह पे लैंड हो चुका है। ये हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही गर्व की बात है। हिंदी में एक कहावत है कि चंदा मामा दूर के, लेकिन अब हम ये कह सकते हैं कि चंदा मामा अपने घर।
बहुत ही उम्दा. The hard work of the entire ISRO community has come to fruition.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, नमस्कार। Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Sir, I request our Honorable Prime Minister to address us and bless us. Thank you, sir.
मेरे प्यारे परिवारजनों, जब हम अपनी आंखों के सामने ऐसा इतिहास बनते हुए देखते हैं तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है। ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटनाएं राष्ट्र जीवन की चिरंजीव चेतना बन जाती है। ये पल अविस्मरणीय है। ये क्षण अभूतपूर्व है। ये क्षण विकसित भारत के शंखनाद का है। ये क्षण नए भारत के जयघोष का है। ये क्षण मुश्किलों के महासागर को पार करने का है। ये क्षण जीत के चंद्र पथ पर चलने का है। ये क्षण 140 करोड़ धड़कनों के सामर्थ्य का है। ये क्षण भारत में नई ऊर्जा, नया विश्वास, नई चेतना का है। क्षण भारत के उदयमान भाग्य के आह्वान का है। अमृत काल की प्रथम प्रभा में सफलता की ये अमृत वर्षा हुई है। हमने धरती पर संकल्प लिया से साकार किया।
I can easily see the proud feeling and the smiles जो सारे audience को इंडियन के सक्सेस के आफ्टर फील हुआ. Today we stand on the summit of one. मुश्किलों का सामना किया एंड भारत ने अंतरिक्ष की ओर एक ऊंची उड़ान भरी.
हर सपने को अपनी सांसों में रखो, हर मंजिल को अपनी बाहों में रखो, हर जीत आपकी है, बस अपने लक्ष्य को अपनी निगाहों में रखो. तो चलिए ले चलते हैं आपको एक ऐसे ही सपनों से भरी दुनिया में जो 4 दशक पहले एक छोटे से बच्चे ने बनाई थी. चेरथला नाम के गांव में सभी जानते थे श्रीधर को. उम्र में भले ही छोटा हो, लेकिन हमेशा बड़े बड़े सपने देखा करता था. आज भी एक ऐसा ही सपना लिए हंसते खेलते मुस्कुराते पहुंच गया वह अपने स्कूल. श्रीधर के सपने शायद कुछ ज्यादा ही बड़े थे, जो इन मामूली लोगों के सोच से बहुत ही परे थे. आखिर कुएं के मेंढक को बाहर की दुनिया के बारे में बताओगे तो भला वे कहाँ मानने वाले हैं. तो इस तरह निराश हुआ श्रीधर ने अपना बस्ता उठाया और चल पड़ा पार्क की ओर. शायद वहां कोई था जो उसके सपनों को समझने की क्षमता रखता था.
क्या हुआ भाई, इतना उदास क्यों बैठा है? कहने दीजिए अंकल, आप नहीं समझेंगे. भाई ऐसे कैसे नहीं समझेंगे? मैं बताओ तो सही. पता है आज कक्षा में मास्टर जी ने पूछा क्या बनना चाहते हो? मैंने कहा मैं चांद तक पहुंचूंगा. पर सब हंसने लगे. शायद मैंने कुछ गलत सोचा होगा. पता है वो लोग क्यों हंसे? इसलिए नहीं कि तुमने कुछ गलत सोचा है, इसलिए हंसे क्योंकि जो तुमने सोचा है उनकी कल्पना से बहुत परे है. और अक्सर नया सोचने वाले का दुनिया मजाक ही बनाती है. जानते हो बल्ब का आविष्कार किसने करा? थॉमस एडिसन. वो अपनी जिंदगी में 1000 बार असफल हुआ, लेकिन उसने कभी हार नहीं मानी. अगर वो लोगों के तानों से, मजाक से जाता ना लक्ष्य पाता हो. ये कह रहा हूँ. उसने कहा कोई बात नहीं, लक्ष्य पर ध्यान दो. आप यहाँ बैठे हैं, मैंने कहाँ का ढूंढा आपको. चलिए आपकी दवाई का टाइम हो गया. अरे दवाई? ये क्या हुआ है? आप कहाँ ले जा रहे हैं? नहीं पता है, ये पहले बहुत बड़े साइंटिस्ट थे, लेकिन समय के साथ इनकी याददाश्त कम होने लगी. बस उसी का इलाज चल रहा है. अब तो लोग इन्हें पागल पागल कहते हैं. चलिए पिताजी. पर चलने वाले को आगे में कहती है ये दुनिया, अरे जब वो राही पा लेता मंजिल, बाबा भी बाबा भी
हाँ, तो यही था वह पहला आदमी जिसने उस बच्चे की बात सुनी और समझी। दुनिया भले ही उसे पागल पागल कहती हो, परंतु उसके शब्दों का प्रभाव उस बच्चे पर इस प्रकार हुआ मानो किसी प्यासे को किसी ने नदी का रास्ता बता दिया हो। अब श्रीधर के मन में आस जगी अपने सपनों को पूरा करने की और उन सभी को गलत साबित करने की जो उस पर हंसते थे।
अभी आगाज है तेरा, बहुत कुछ सीखना है, कमर कसनी अभी बाकी है, मुट्ठी भींचना है। अभी आगाज है तेरा, बहुत कुछ सीखना है, कमर कसनी अभी बाकी है, मुट्ठी भींचना है। भले हालात हो कैसे भी बस ये सोच ले, अपने हाथ से मैं रगों में खून के संग इस जुनून को खोल के रख, कसौटी वक्त की है हौसलों को तोल के रख, जोड़ना है तुझे ऊंचा परों को खोल के रख, कसौटी वक्त की है हौसलों को तोल के रख, जोड़ना है तुझे ऊंचा परों को खोल के।
भले ही रास्ता कितना ही कठिन रहा हो, सालों के परिश्रम और दिन रात एक करने के बाद आइए देखते हैं श्रीधर अपने सपनों को संभव कर पाया या नहीं। आज तारीख है 23 अगस्त 2023।
नमस्कार दोस्तों, आज की ताजा खबर। हमारे भारत के लिए आज काफी ऐतिहासिक दिन है। हमारे वैज्ञानिकों ने सालों की मेहनत को सच करके दिखाया है। चंद्रयान 3 का विक्रम लैंडर आज चंद्रमा के दक्षिणी ध्रुव के सतह पर उतरने वाला है। आइए देखते हैं सीधा प्रसारण इसरो से। 8, 7,
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
आज भारत के लिए ऐतिहासिक दिन था। चंद्रयान 3 की सफलता ने पूरे विश्व को अचंभित कर दिया है। आइए मिलते हैं हम उस इंसान से, उसकी पूरी टीम से, जिसने चंद्रयान 3 की सफलता को अपना मिशन बना लिया था। आइए आइए। श्रीधर सोमनाथ जी, श्रीधर जी, श्रीधर जी, अब आप भारत की सफलता के बारे में क्या कहना चाहते हैं? कहिए कुछ।
मैंने बचपन में एक सपना देखा था जो बहुत बड़ा था, चांद तक पहुंचने का, जो आज सफल हो पाया है। मेरे बचपन में जब मैं बहुत मायूस था, एक व्यक्ति ने मुझसे कुछ ऐसा कहा जिसने मेरा मनोबल बढ़ाया, जो था कि हर नई राह चलते व्यक्ति पर अक्सर हंसती है ये दुनिया, पर जब वो पा लेता है अपनी मंजिल तो वाह वाह भी करती है ये दुनिया।
वाह वाह भी करती है दुनिया, वाह वाह भी करती है।
वाकई में क्या गजब परफॉर्मेंस थी। Cosmos is boundless. Our responsibility to use it is wisely is equally infinite. Carrying the program forward, presenting you all a debate which tackles the pressing issue of militarization of space. Our participants will delve into the complexities surrounding the use of outer space for military purposes. It's a topic of global significance, and we anticipate a thought-provoking discussion ahead. We have Ishika, Arav, and Harsh for the motion, and Hitansh, Abhinav, Sabhita for representing against the motion. Starting with for the motion, we have Arif sir.
Changes. Our life changed ourselves. There was a time when battles were fought sitting on horses with spades and arrows. Now, then came the time for guns and grenades. Unfortunately, after that, nuclear weapons came into our lives. And now, what we are calling, my opponents, the space weapons. Every country puts in its best efforts and resources to stay ahead in the military war game. Just think of a situation. One of our friendly neighbors decides to attack us. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to protect ourselves? Are we supposed to sit silent? Just sheer development and manufacturing of these technological marvels does not imply its deployment. There are peace treaties to prevent that, which my fellow teammates would be explaining later. The capability to project military power into space can serve as a deterrent, discouraging political adversaries from initiating hostilities in the first place, leading to greater stability. The RISAT-2 satellite, launched by ISRO nearly a decade back, manages our borders. Imagine having that satellite back in 1998. The Pakistani troops would have never even entered our borders, and the entire Kargil war could have been prevented. But in case the things spiral out of our control, and there is a situation where we go into a war, these missiles and drones that are being developed have a precise range of target. The damages brought by it are far lesser than a bomb or a fleet of army. Whenever we speak of war crimes, we consider civilian casualties, collateral damages, but what we forget is the brave sacrifices made by our military forces. It is their duty to protect the nation, but to give away their life for it? No, we cannot expect that. It is just their patriotism that makes them martyr their life with a smile. Their life is as precious as any other civilian, or in fact, even more. And we should do whatever we can to save them. These missiles and weapons, they just don't have a precise range of target, they also prevent face-to-face military combat, thereby saving many military lives. Wars have happened in past, and even now as we speak, in some other corner of the globe, countries are in state of war. Me and you sitting over here cannot prevent a war. It is out of our hands. In fact, it is out of everyone's hands. All we can do is that peace is maintained, and if ever we go into war, it is as peaceful as possible. Thank you.
Now for representing against the motion, we have Hitansh.
A very warm morning to everyone devoted to this auditorium. I would be the first person speaking against the motion in the topic. Is militarization of space really a need of an hour? First of all, I'd like to give a basic definition. What is a space weapon? A space weapon is a device or a gadget which is supposed to terrorize or destroy or degenerate any earthly object from the outer space. This definition in itself inculcates the feeling of fear and vulnerability in all of us. Like any missile cannot be thrown to earth directly, it can cause. Going further, the definition in itself elicits the sense of vulnerability and danger, as I said before. So what actually are the threats? Let us pin down the threats. What actually are the threats? So the participants which are speaking in the motion can get a counter question for the same. The main problem associated with weaponizing space is that an arms race would occur. It would become a rat race. Every country would be developing missiles to pin down the other countries' satellites and the other countries' telecommunications. Let's understand with a basic example. Space stations will launch missiles on the satellites of other nations, and outer satellites will launch missiles on the earthly space communication laboratories or whatever systems they are present on the Earth's surface. So, as I said before, it will produce a rat race. All this which eventually terminate into a rat race, causing a geopolitical crisis. Every other country would be trying to demean the other countries' telecommunication system. That is the major role of the basically stand for the telecommunication part. So you can forecast the future where actually are the opponents' military power staying. Another very major concern that I would like my audience to address is, let's relate with an easy example. Can you really throw all the earthly waste outside of the Earth's surface into the outer space? Everyone is well versed with the topic that in India, not in India, in the whole Earth, in the whole planet, we have a really big issue of waste disposal and management. We have many things we don't get to dispose and get rid of them permanently. So many scientists came up with the idea of throwing these substances out of the earth and disposing them in the celestial world. But is it really ethical and legal? No. As all of you know, that all the discussions that were held, it was discussed that these are not ethical and legal. Coming to facts now, this was the ethical part. Now for the last turn, is really throwing the satellites and throwing missiles on them will cause space debris, as all of us can understand. That space debris is perpetual to produce sharpnels. Those sharp substances will be very potent to produce damage to the non-harming satellites. Those satellites also would be harmed by those space debris particles, which really provide us the basic information in our day-to-day life. The weather forecasting, the basic phone call and the video calls we make from one part to the another. So all the systems would be hampered. So I would end with, I would conclude with the major two topics. First, it would cause a geopolitical crisis, and secondarily, that space debris outside the in the celestial world, outside the earth, is no option to be made. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Hitansh. Next, we have Ishika representing for the motion.
Good morning, everyone. So, my question for you, what do we really mean by militarization of space? Do you think militarization of space is equivalent to bioweaponization? Do you think it always transforms into a war-fighting domain? So my friends, things are not always black and white. Let me take you to the brighter side. The satellites have been used as platforms for geo-information. For example, weather forecast, communications, and navigation systems. Could you now imagine a world without GPS that we've become too accustomed to? The advancements in satellite technology have enabled more sophisticated Earth observation and remote sensing capabilities. The same has aided in better surveillance of regions prone to threats and wars. The drones serve the purpose of surveillance to ensure safety of military men. Thus, space militarization has enhanced the systems of national security. That's where we need to understand that space weaponization has been an implication of space militarization, while it originally began with the purpose of improvising the economy of the globe. The development of space technology has transformed the whole globe in a myriad of ways, and the hunger to acquire more power has led to competitive realms between different countries. This was first witnessed in the Cold War between USA and Soviet Union. And to prevent the reoccurrence of such episodes in the future and for use of space technology judicially, global frameworks have been established to prevent space weaponization. The Outer Space Treaty, it was conceptualized by the United Nations in 1967. It emphasizes that the use of outer space should be peaceful and beneficial to all mankind. It claims that one nation cannot claim national sovereignty in outer space. The states shall be responsible for national space activities, whether carried out by governmental or non-governmental entities. It also states that the states shall be responsible for damage caused by their own space objects. Thus, while moving forward with advancements in space technology, we need to make sure to implement appropriate laws and tread cautiously so that we can maintain harmony between various countries. In conclusion, the militarization of space, though controversial, is a logical progression in the realm of national security. It's an acknowledgement of the changing nature of conflict and the strategic importance of space in a modern world. It is not an endorsement of war in space, but a defensive measure to protect our interests and deter potential threats. To maintain our security and global stability, we must be prepared to adapt and excel in this evolving domain. In this era of rapid technological advancement, embracing the militarization of space is not a choice, but a strategic imperative. Let us not shy away from the challenges it presents, but rather let us embrace the responsibility to navigate this new frontier with vigilance, adherence to international norms, and a commitment for securing our future. Thank you.
Thanks, Ishika. Next, continuing further representing against the motion, we have Abhinav.
Do you know that during the Cold War, USA launched a program considering dropping an atomic bomb on moon? Why, one may ask? Because they can, was their answer, to establish their superiority as the most powerful nation. Good morning, everyone. I will speak against the motion militarization of space. Recently, I watched a TV series which depicted an alternate reality in which the space race of 1960s had never ended. Reason? Soviet Union had beaten USA to send the first man on moon. In this alternate reality, my guess is that USA would not have cancelled their plan to nuke the moon, to establish themselves as just another level superior. Fiction aside, it leads me to think about the implications of a space and arms race in the future. People dying of hunger, extreme poverty, lack of health infrastructure, civil unrest, but nations still spending the largest amount of their GDP onto space militarization. Can you even imagine that? Militarization of space also raises the concern for a new kind of warfare. For example, destroying a nation's satellites to cause total GPS blackout, like no communication, no video calls, no over-the-continent communication. Intercontinental ballistic missiles and the nuclear warheads, which are now being used through satellites. These are capable of destroying entire continents within minutes of launch from the satellites. These are the true implications of the weapon part of militarization of space. In such a war, there would be no ongoing conflict. The war would just begin and soon end with the end of life on Earth. On one hand, we have in outer space, PAROS, an ongoing critical issue in the UN disarmament and arms control agenda. But on the other hand, we see the militaries of the very same member nations establishing their separate military space divisions, like the United States Space Force. On surface, the goal of these military divisions, the space divisions of these military organizations, is to oversee the commercial movement in space and protection of their satellites. But deep down, there is that desire to attain strategic dominance over rival powers and maintain global hegemony. We need restriction from bodies which are more powerful than UN, or need to increase the power of UN on this very important critical issue. Because when the time comes, the actual superpowers, China, Russia, and USA, when someone does something or increase the military capacity in space, the other nations will follow. And then where is UN there? Where are the peace treaties there? It just doesn't matter. But this is all wrong. Space is meant for science and exploration, not control and dominance. No one owns the cosmos. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhinav. Next, we have Harsh representing for the motion.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. As we all know that we are discussing militarization of outer space and its transformation into a war-fighting domain. So I would like to put forward some of my arguments for the motion. Although my fellow speakers for the motion have already explained the meaning of militarization and weaponization, so I would broadly sum up the basic difference between the two by using the word defense for militarization and offense for weaponization. As we all know, India have always been the biggest advocate of peace and prosperity with inclusive and sustainable development in the world, as we all go forward with the motto of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning the world is our family, which also happens to be the motto of the ongoing historical G20 summit in our country. But the world is not as rosy as we all think, and peace can never be maintained without power. We are all very well aware of the threats that are sitting right in our neighborhood, and therefore making thyself capable of successfully countering them could only be possible by making ourselves strong at every war front, and space is one of those. The establishment of DSRO, Defense Space Research Organization in 2019, conduction of Indian SpaceX, our first ever simulated space military exercise, or launching of Mission Shakti, that is an anti-space satellite missiles, are some steps towards that. My fellow speakers speaking against the motion would argue that militarization of space could give rise to the arms race, increased conflict and instability among nations, rising space debris, rising commercialization of outer space, global commons under threat, and whatnot. But India has always been against weaponization of outer space and supports safety and security of space-based assets. India has implemented several transparency and confidence-building measures, including registering the space objects with the UN register, pre-launch notifications, measures in harmony with the US space mitigation guidelines, participating in interagency space debris coordination, space debris coordination, and many others, including showing support to the UN General Assembly Resolution 69 by 32 on no first placement of weapons in outer space, and has always been considerate about the arms race, but for the proper safeguarding of its nation and it's important to emphasize on space situational awareness and capabilities and safeguarding our space assets with counter space capabilities while building resilience and redundancy in a space-based infrastructure. Apart from the space treaty, treaties like the International Code of Conduct for Outer Space, MTCR, Code of Conduct Against Ballistic Missiles, International Code of Proliferation, etc., signed by India is also a step towards same. With 129, 75, and 35 military satellites respectively, the United States, Russia, and China are already taking the space war front into serious consideration. And therefore, for our national security, which is the most important foundation stone on which the buildings of peace and development are standing, we have every right and capability to be among them, not for the offensive purposes, but for the defense approach, as there can't be development without peace, and there can't be peace without power. This was also mentioned by one of our greatest prime ministers and Bharat Ratna, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, on whom our esteemed institution is also named during the nuclear weapons testing in his regime. And it's also explained beautifully by a poem by the national poet of India, Shri Ramdhari Singh Dinkar ji, with some lines as follows. क्षमा शोभती उस भुजंग को जिसके पास गरल हो, उसमें क्या जो दंतहीन विषरहित विनीत सरल हो. सच पूछो तो शर में ही बस्ती दीप्ति विनय की, और संधि वचन संपूज्य उसी का जिसमें शक्ति विजय की. सहनशीलता, क्षमा, दया को तभी पूजता जग है, बल का दर्प चमकता उसके पीछे जब जगमग है. This basically means that peace only comes with power, and tolerance, forgiveness, and empathy are only considered assets of a powerful nation, which India has always been since the ancient period. With this, I would like to rest my case. Thank you.
Thanks, Harsh. Next, at the end, we have Sabita representing against the motion.
Hello. Imagine for a moment looking up at the night sky. What do you see? For generations, humans have gazed at the stars with awe and wonder, finding solace in the vastness of space. It is a place where the power and the aspirations of humanity soar. It's a place where the mysteries of the universe beckon us to explore, where scientific discovery knows no boundaries, and where a shared human spirit has thrived in the pursuit of knowledge. Good morning to everyone present. Today, we confront a pressing question. Should we allow space, the ultimate frontier, to be marred by the specter of militarization and transformed into a war-fighting domain? We firmly assert that the answer must be a resounding no. The militarization of space poses grave risks not only to our collective security, but also to the principles of cooperation, peace, and the preservation of our cosmic environment. We first start by looking at the history. Space exploration has historically been a symbol of cooperation and peaceful intentions among nations. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which has been signed and ratified by many countries, including major spacefaring nations like the United States and Russia, explicitly states that the space should be used for peaceful purposes. This treaty has successfully prevented the placement of nuclear weapons in orbit and on celestial bodies. Abandoning this foundational principle could have dire consequences for our future. We must also remember that allowing space to become a war-fighting domain risks the expansion of conflict. Once these hostilities extend to space, the consequence of any conflict become unpredictable and uncontrollable. The potential for satellite disruptions, space debris collection, and unintentional damage to the critical infrastructure in orbit or on Earth is substantial. Building this war-fighting zone comes with a hefty price. Investing in the development and deployment of space weapons diverts financial resources from addressing critical global health challenges such as poverty, healthcare, climate change, and education. In an era where these issues demand immediate attention and resources, allocating substantial funds to space militarization is questionable at the best. The opportunity cost of investing in those resources could be used for scientific research,
technological innovation and space exploration that benefit all of the humanity rather than serving military interests. Weaponizing space also erodes international trust and cooperation. By pursuing aggressive space policies, nations risk alienating potential allies and damaging diplomatic relations. Space should remain a realm where nations work together for the common good, fostering a sense of shared responsibility for the preservation of our cosmic heritage. In closing, let us reflect on the timeless wisdom of Carl Sagan, who once said, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself." As we deliberate and make decisions today, let us remember that our choices will echo not only through the corridors of power, but also through the cosmos itself. We have the chance to be the stewards of space, the guardians of its potential, and the torchbearers of hope for the generations to come. The stars above us beckon us not to war, but to collaboration and exploration. Let us honor that call, and in doing so, leave a legacy for humanity that is worthy of the universe itself. A legacy of peace, cooperation, and the eternal pursuit of knowledge that transcends the boundaries of our terrestrial existence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabita. Such a factual debate it was. Through this debate, both sides of the coin were equally appreciated. However, answer to the question still lies in the future.
Failure is not opposite to success. It's past. After the the world still under world scrutinization with stringent budgets and fear from past failures, our scientists made it to the lunar heights of success. Let's celebrate this victory with a dance performance filled with jovial energy and zeal, followed by Shiv Tandav, marking the feel of renaissance of landing of Chandrayaan on the lunar Shiv Shakti point. Let's give it up for all the participants of the dance.
पिघला दे जंजीरें बना उनकी शमशीरें कर हर मैदान फतेह बंदिया कर हर मैदान फतेह घायल परिंदा है तू दिखला दे जिंदा है बाकी है तुझ में हौसला तेरे जुनू के आगे अंबर पनाहे मांगे कर डाल तू जो फैसला
रूठी तकदीरें तो क्या टूटी शमशीरें तो क्या टूटी शमशीरों से ही हो
कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह रे बंदिया हर मैदान फतेह तेरे पीछे पीछे रास्ते ये चल के बाहों के निशानों में ढल के ढूंढ लेंगे अपना आशियां अपना आशियां अपना आशियां हर मैदान हर मैदान हर मैदान हर मैदान कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह बंदिया हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह बंदिया हर मैदान फतेह पाटवी गलज्जल प्रवाह पावितस्थले कलेवलम्ब्य लम्बितां भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकाथवड्डमड्डमड्डमन्निनादवड्डमर्वयं चकार चण्डताण्डवं तनोतु नः शिव 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 जटाकटाह सम्भ्रम भ्रम निलिम्ब निर्झरी विलोल वीचि वल्लरी विराजमान मूर्धनि धगत् धगत् धगज्ज्वलल्ललाट पट्ट पावके किशोर चन्द्रशेखरे रतिः प्रतिक्षणम् मम पठन् स्मरन् ब्रुवन्नरो विशुद्धिमेति सन्ततं हरे गुरौ सुभक्तिमाशु याति नान्यथा गतिं विमोहनं हि देहिनां सुशङ्करस्य चिन्ता विमोहनं हि देहिनां सुशङ्करस्य चिन्ता विमोहनं हि देहिनां सुशङ्करस्य चिन्ता
वो सब गाना इनका उनका वही है माला वही है मन का मस्त मलंग वो अपनी धुन का अंतर मंत्र अंतर ज्ञानी है सर्वज्ञ स्वाभिमानी जिनके है महाविनाशी ओंकार है इसी की वाणी इसी की वाणी भांग दूरा बेल का पत्ता तीनों नो किसी की सत्ता विश्व कर भी अड़िग अमर है महादेव हर हर है जपता वही शून्य है वही इकाई वही शून्य है वही इकाई वही शून्य है वही इकाई जिसके भीतर बसा शिवाय
Such energetic, such an amazing performance it was. Everyone, please give them a big round of applause. Celebrating a successful... Celebrating a successful mission is like reaching a summit. It gives us a new perspective, but it also ignites the curiosity to conquer even greater peaks. After a successful mission, the question is not what have we accomplished, but rather what are the new horizons we shall explore. To answer these questions, we have Sabita highlighting the impact of successful Chandrayaan 3 mission on India's upcoming space programs.
Hello. Neil Armstrong once said that one small step for man, one giant leap for the mankind. Today, as we stand on the precipice of a new era, those words resonate more than ever. The success of Chandrayaan 3 marks not just a small step, but a monumental leap forward for humanity's journey to the moon and beyond. Good morning to everyone present. Today, we gather here to celebrate a monumental achievement in the history of space exploration, the successful mission of Chandrayaan 3 to the moon. This remarkable endeavor not only exemplifies the indomitable spirit of human curiosity, but also the unwavering commitment of the scientific community to push the boundaries of knowledge. Chandrayaan's 3 triumphant journey to the moon is a testament to the vision and the perseverance of countless engineers and space enthusiasts who work tirelessly to ensure its success. It reminds us that when we set our sights on the stars, there is no limit to what we can achieve. But today is not about just celebrating our past accomplishments. It is about looking into the future. Chandrayaan 3 has laid the foundation for what comes next in our lunar exploration journey. It has provided us with invaluable data, unprecedented insights, and a deeper understanding of our closest celestial neighbor. it has opened door to even more ambitious missions and possibilities. So, what's next? The success of Chandrayaan 3 is just the beginning. It is the launchpad for a new era of lunar exploration. Our next steps involve not only returning to the moon, but establishing a sustainable human presence there. We envision lunar bases, research outposts, and even lunar industries that will propel humanity further into the cosmos. But this endeavor is not about planting flags or leaving footprints. It is about the pursuit of knowledge and the advancement of science and the betterment of humanity. The moon holds the key to unlocking secrets about our own planet's history, the origins of the solar system, and of knowledge and the spirit of unity. Together, let us continue to explore, to dream, and to reach for the stars, for the future belongs to those who dare to venture beyond. Thank you, and may the legacy of Chandrayaan 3 inspire generations to come. Onward to new horizons and infinite possibilities.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing such amazing factual information with us. कार्यक्रम का पहला देशभक्ति गीत भारत माता के सौंदर्य बोध, उसकी भौगोलिक तथा सांस्कृतिक विविधताओं को समर्पित था। कार्यक्रम का यह अंतिम समूह गान हमें भारत माता की शक्ति बोध का ज्ञान कराएगा। हमारा देश यूं तो शांति प्रिय है, जिसने कभी किसी पर आक्रमण नहीं किया। हम वसुधैव कुटुंबकम अर्थात धरती के समस्त प्राणी ही हमारा कुटुंब है की धारणा में विश्वास रखने वाले लोग हैं, किंतु शांति की रक्षा हेतु यदा कदा शक्ति का प्रदर्शन भी आवश्यक है।
दिनकर के शब्दों में क्षमा शोभती उस भुजंग को जिसके पास गरल हो, क्षमा शोभती उस भुजंग को जिसके पास गरल हो, उसको क्या जो दंतहीन विष रहित विनीत सरल हो। प्यारी आजाद हिंद फौज का ये गीत आज भी हमारे रक्त में एक नई ऊर्जा का संचार करता है।